Hey, a fine afternoon to everybody. It's still mid-April and beautiful day. Plenty of stuff coming out. I'm going to show you a cool plant here. This is, not native to, the United States, but still an interesting plant. I'd like to talk about it briefly. This is Tussilago farfara. This is Coltsfoot, a monotypic genus in the Senecio tribe of the family Asteraceae, which me, is just lots to talk about there. Seneciones get some real interesting plants. The Paccaras are an early blooming genus in that tribe that is native here in the U.S. Paccara aurea, Paccara schweinitziana, etc. This species, however, is monotypic, so only species in its genus. I think formerly it was, lumped in with, or the butterburs, Petasites, and some other stuff was, lumped in there with it. So these send out their flowers seemingly before they send out their leaves, although there are some leaves around. I'll show you what those look like in 1 second. But go over here. Well, look at these guys. These guys are a little bit not quite as far along there. Look how weird the texture is to those stems. I guess sometimes these come up and can't come up with an almost like gray, gray coloration to those emergent stems there. So the leaves. Oh, the camera fell off the tripod. That's okay though. Those are the leaves right there. That's what they look like. Real interesting, real waxy to the touch there, as evidenced by the fact that we're coming up here in a nice little wooded stream side. Got a couple other things nearby to show you, but there's some stuff here that I'm planning on going a little bit more in depth when it's a bit more in bloom. Not limited to, the Lindera benzoin here, this northern spicebush in the family Lindera, which talk about that in the video I just filmed yesterday. So don't worry about that. We're going to do a whole plant spotlight on this guy. Get in there, as you can see, typical aster morphology. Some, people might pass right on by it thinking this is just a dandelion, but it's not. Not even in the same tribe as the dandelions. Real interesting plant. Shame it's somewhat invasive in some areas. I've never actually seen it here in New England, but I think you got to go to some places a little bit colder, maybe out west in Canada. I think this can get real bad, but Senecio is an interesting tribe, and it's generally just a weirdo. So I figured I'd show that to you. We'll take a look around here. I'll show you one or two other things, but most of the stuff they've got here right now are things that I'm going to be doing a little bit more, long format videos on. So stand by. And what springtime, early springtime, New England botany video could be complete without a shout out to Symplocarpus foetidus, one of my favorite aroids, a basal member of that family actually. I don't believe it's the most basal subfamily, but the most basal subfamily. I think just has one Australian species in it. So this is pretty close to the base model for the arums. A lot of famous houseplants in there. Monstera, philodendron, what's the other one there? The flamingo plant, antheridium, But we got native ones here that are, in my opinion, just as freaking cool, if not cooler. Just gotta remember, Araceae. This is probably a review. I've talked about this plant extensively. This is the spathe right here. Down in there, you've got the spadix. So that's where all the actual flowers are on right there. 4 Maris flowers. So you get 4 little anthers and a stigma. And I think even 4 little sepals that are super reduced. All, collected in that spadix right there at the base. This guy's on his way out. But, 4 Maris flowers. Unusual for a monocot. And then you get these green to brown to purple, spathe surrounding it. This is the emerging leaf right here. As you can see around us, they are signaling the arrival of spring. And actually, these guys start going off at the end of February through March, and there's still, still some stragglers blooming right now. A thermogenic plant. It's capable of melting its way up through the snow and through the ice, and one of the first sources for pollen and nectar for early foraging insects. And yeah, Symplocarpus, you get a few species out there in Asia, and then out there, if you're out there on the west coast, you've got Lysochiton, which you know, looks a little different, yellow. Kind of has a different overall factor to it. Although I guess that species is kind of invasive in Europe, and I know there's a population of it in the Canadian Maritimes, interestingly enough. But I digress. Aurantium, the golden club, is also in this basal, you know, subfamily. Where I think Aurantiidae, I think it is named for that species, for the golden club. Aurantium. I'm going to forget the species epithet, but whatever. It's a monotypic genus. There's only one species in it, regardless. So that's a cool arum. Always one that you got to stop and admire this time of year, and kind of the first thing you can really, you know, look forward to in the spring. Again, almost always coming up with Lindera benzoin, and I mean, yeah, just the nice little yellow buds of Lindera coming up over the emerging leaves of Symplocarpus. It's spring, baby. It's spring in New England. All these little dealy boppers you see sticking up, those are all last year's sporophylls from Onoclea sensibilis. They persist over the winter, so the leaves drop dead at the first sign of frost, but then the sporophylls will, you know, stay persistent over the winter. Let's go look at two more things, and then I want to say I can get out of here. Like I said, a lot of this is either review or it's going to be stuff that I'll be covering more in depth as the season progresses. So here's a plant in a family I'm trying to do more coverage on this year, but I'm going to cover both this. I'm going to come back when this is in bloom. It's not in bloom right now. This is Micranthes virginiana. This is the early Saxifrage. And this is a real interesting plant, and I will get more in depth. I just want to show it to you now in bud. So Saxifrageaceae is the family, Micranthes is the genus, and this is a weird guy. He likes growing out of mossy rock walls. Again, we'll cover him in more depth. Let's just say hi while we're here, and probably will be blooming at the end of this week. I'm going to cover this. I'm going to take this segment of this one is blooming. I'm going to put it together with another real interesting plant, Chrysosplenium americanum, which is obviously also in the family Saxifrageaceae. Obviously only due to the context to be talking about the family, but yeah, these guys are real weirdos. So look forward to just a bit more of an in-depth coverage of the family, and then I'll show you this one in bloom, likes the rock walls, and then I'll show you it's one of its cousins, Chrysosplenium, which basically grows underwater, almost even flowers underwater. Just you'll have to take my word for it. It is in one of the very first NEcology videos, but I don't do it justice, talking about just how strange of a plant it is. We'll get into it. Okay, and I warned you about the ferns, didn't I? We're going to spend a second here. So this is Cystopteris tenuis. This is the so-called Mackay's fragile fern, one of the Cystopteridaceae, the fragile fern family. And this is an interesting one because it needs a really specific substrate to kind of, well, likes a specific substrate to kind of do its thing on. Another rock wall dweller like that, Micranthes. And I've been to this site before. This is that weird limestone outcrop, kind of close by to where I live. Super basic rock, very unusual, I mean, for the region. You know, you're in western New England, you get more volcanic and you get more sedimentary, especially, you know, bottom of Lake Champlain and Connecticut River Valley, but I digress. Most of the bedrock around here is all metamorphic, you know, metamorphic schist and gneiss primarily. But this is limestone, or at least some variant of limestone. And indeed, this plant here is a limestone lover, frequently seen, as depicted here, growing right out of the stuff, coming up in the nice moss. And I guess some of these will make bulbils. They'll make little vegetative offshoots that in turn develop into new plants. But I'm guessing it's much too early in the season to see that. The little fiddleheads are unfurling there. That's real nice. Cystopteridaceae. I swear, I'm going to get into the ferns. We're getting into the ferns. Nice moss coming up. There was an interesting one that I saw the last time I was here. but I can't seem to place it now, but that's okay. The little strobili there popping out of that moss. And there's another Micranthes up there. If you can make that out, kind of trailing over the side of the rock there. Oh, there's a whole bunch over here. Yeah, you see them up there? The rock wall habitat. It's pretty nice. Oh, and then I think this is an invasive species. This is Herb Robert, a species of invasive geranium. And you look like you had these flower stalks look like they might have been from Eurybia divaricata, based on the where were they? Basal leaves emerging up at the whatever. Don't need to worry about all that right now. Yeah, the leaves on that Micranthes are interesting. But why don't we skedaddle for now? Oh, actually, there's one more thing I got to show you. We'll show you one more thing. We'll get out of here. Okay, and last little thing for our primer here. We got a lovely ephemeral poppy. This is Sanguinaria canadensis, another monotypic genus, a very beloved spring wildflower of the eastern U.S., fairly widespread. And true ephemerals, actually, I hesitate to say that. The flowers don't last a long time, but the plants actually with the leaves there, which I'll talk about one second. Real interesting, extremely distinctive leaf. They emerge, they curl up around the thing. I talked about this plant extensively last year. I'm doing a plant spotlight on it, but I really can't help myself. You know, it's such a stunning little spring wildflower. So that's how they emerge. You can see that rhizome almost sheathing around the stem. That leaf emerges curled up around the thing, and when it gets cold out, they'll kind of shrivel up back around it. These are just starting though. These weren't even here a few days ago, didn't pop out. So poppy family, Papaveraceae, extremely toxic secondary chemistry. Usually they got 8 tepals. I can't remember if there's a certain variance they get. Numerous stamens in there. Again, don't worry about it. I'll be doing a plant spotlight on it, but I can't not show you Sanguinaria canadensis. Chalky color to the leaves. Little poppy pod on the thing when it wraps up. It just, come on, one of my favorites. One of everybody's favorites, you know. You see, there's what they look like when they first come out. Easy to miss. Kind of gray. Blends right into the leaf litter. Some of the hepaticas do that too. Yeah, see? There's one over there. Can you even make that out? It's there, trust me. Super easy to miss when they're really early in the season. Also kind of, you know, reminds me of what a mayflower does, but the mayflowers are a lot more vibrant green. So there's a mayflower coming up right there. Micranthes canadensis. How about that? Anyway, I'm gonna head over to another spot. We'll see what's going on a little southeast here. Maybe see these a bit further along. These were in full bloom on this day last year at the spot I'm going to next down near Boston. I'm gonna head over to the Middlesex Fells, kind of at the opposite end of the county from where I'm at now. So in any case, just a little primer, just a little teaser for you. And got some plant spotlights coming out. And yeah, see, here's a better example. Where'd it go? See, I can't even see it when I'm looking on the camera. Yeah. Yeah, that's Sanguinaria right there. That's what it looks like. You could so easily miss that if you don't know any better. But anyway, I'll leave you with that. Have a good one.